Top Kubernetes interview questions with answers, advanced level. You can also find lot of other videos on our YouTube channel that might be useful to you. Don't miss it. Let's get started. Let's say a Kubernetes job should finish in 40 seconds. However, on a rare occasion it takes 5 minutes. How can I make sure to stop the application if it exceeds more than 40 seconds? When we create a job spec, we can give active deadline seconds flag to the command. This flag relates to the duration of the job. Once the job reaches the threshold specified by the flag, the job will be terminated. How do you test a manifest without actually executing it? Use dry run flag to test the manifest. This is really useful not only to ensure if the YAML syntax is right for a particular Kubernetes object, but also to ensure that a spec has required key-value pairs. kubectl create -f, then filename, dry run. How do you initiate a rollback for an application? Rollback and rolling updates are a feature of deployment object in the Kubernetes. We do the rollback to an earlier deployment revision if the current state of the deployment is not stable due to the application code or the configuration. Each rollback updates the revision of the deployment. How do you package Kubernetes applications? Helm is a package manager which allows users to package, configure, and deploy applications and services to the Kubernetes cluster. Helm init. When you execute this command, client is going to create a deployment in the cluster, and that deployment will install the tiller, the server side of Helm. The packages we install through client are called charts. They are bundles of templated manifests. All the templating work is done by the tiller. Helm search Redis. This command searches for a specific application. Helm install stable Redis. This command installs the Redis application. Helm ls. This command lists the applications. What are init containers? Generally, in Kubernetes, a pod can have many containers. Init container gets executed before any other containers run in the pod. What is node affinity and pod affinity? Node affinity ensures that pods are hosted on particular nodes. Pod affinity ensures to pods to be collocated in a single node. The pod affinity rule says that the pod can be scheduled to a node only if that node is in the same zone as at least one already running pod that has a label with key security and value S1. How do you drain the traffic from a pod during maintenance? When we take the node for maintenance, pods inside the nodes also take a hit. However, we can avoid it by using the below command. kubectl drain node name. When we run the above command, it marks the node unschedulable for newer pods, then the existing pods are evicted if the API server supports eviction, else it deletes the pods. Once the node is up and running and you want to add it in rotation, we can run the command given here. kubectl uncordon node name. If you prefer not to use kubectl drain, such as to avoid calling to an external command, or to get finer control over the pod eviction process, you can also programmatically cause evictions using the eviction API. I have one pod and inside two containers are running. One is Nginx and another one is WordPress. So, how can access these two containers from the browser with IP address? Just do port forward kubectl port forward, nginx pod name, 80:80. kubectl port forward, WordPress pod name, Drupal port, WordPress port. To make it permanent, you need to expose those through node ports. Whenever you do kubectl port forward, it adds a rule to the firewall to allow that traffic across nodes, but by default, that isn't allowed since Flannel or firewall probably blocks it. Proxy tries to connect over the network of the API server host, as you correctly found. Port forward, on the other hand, is a mechanism that the node kubelet exposes over its own API. If I have multiple containers running inside a pod, and I want to wait for a specific container to start before starting another one. One way is init containers are for one-shot tasks that start, run, end, all before the next init container or the main container start. But if a client in one container wants to consume some resources exposed by some server provided by another container, or if the server ever crashes or is restarted, the client will need to retry connections. So the client can retry always, even if the server isn't up yet. The best way is sidecar pattern _r, where one container is the main one, and other containers expose metrics or logs or encrypted tunnel or some such. In these cases, the other containers can be killed when the main one is done, crashed, evicted. What is the impact of upgrading kubelet if we leave the pods on the worker node? Will it break running pods? Restarting kubelet, which has to happen for an upgrade, will cause all the pods on the node to stop and be started again. It's generally better to drain a node, because that way pods can be gracefully migrated and things like disruption budgets can be honored. The problem is that kubectl keeps up with the state of all running pods, so when it goes away the containers don't necessarily die, but as soon as it comes back up, they are all killed, so kubectl can create a clean slate. So if something happens in between of upgrade process, rescheduling of pods may take place and health checks may fail in between the process. During the restart, the kubelet will stop querying the API, so it won't start or stop containers, and Heapster won't be able to fetch system metrics from cAdvisor. Just make sure it's not down for too long, or the node will be removed from the cluster. How service that selects apps based on the label and has an external IP. The service selects apps based on labels, so if no pods have appropriate labels, the service has nothing to route, and labels can be anything you like. Since all pod names should be unique, you can just set the labels as the pod name. Since state sets create the same pods multiple times, they won't be configured with distinct labels you could use to point disparate services to the correct pod. If you gave the pods their own labels manually, it will work. Also, service selects pods based on selector, as well their location label, as well given YAML file of Grafana dashboard service shows the same. Does the container restart when applying or updating the secret object? If not, how is the new password applied to the database? If you are mounting the secret as a volume into your pod, when the secret is updated, the content will be updated in your pod without the pod restarting. It's up to your application to detect that change and reload, or to write your own logic that rolls the pods if the secret changes. Volume mount controls what part of the secret volume is mounted into a particular container, defaults to the root containing all those files, but can point to a specific file using subpath, and where in the container it should be mounted with mount path. Example spec is given. Also, it depends on how the secret is consumed by a container. If n vars, then number. If a volume mount, then the file is updated in the container ready to be consumed by the service, but it needs to reload the file. The container does not restart. If the secret is mounted as a volume, it is updated dynamically. If it is an environment variable, it stays as the old value until the container is restarted. How should you connect an app pod with a database pod? By using a service object. Reason being, if the database pod goes away, it's going to come up with a different name and IP address, which means the connection string would need to be updated every time. Managing that is difficult. The service proxies traffic to pods, and it also helps in load balancing of traffic if you have multiple pods to talk to. It has its own IP, and as long as service exists, pod referencing this service in upstream will work, and if the pods behind the service are not running, a pod will not see that and will try to forward the traffic, but it will return a 502 bad gateway. So just define the service, and then bring up your pods with the proper label so the service will pick them up. How to configure a default image pull secret for any deployment. You can attach an image pull secret to a service account. Any pod using that service account, including default, can take advantage of the secret. You can bind the pull secret to your pod, but you are still left with having to create the secret every time you make a namespace. Also, you can create the RC deployment manually and either specify the image pull secret or a service account that has the secret, or add the image pull secret to the default service account, in which case you'd be able to use kubectl run and not have to make any manual changes to the manifest. Depending on your environment and how secret this image pull secret is, will change how you approach it. If you have a pod that is using a config map which you updated, and you want the container to be updated with those changes, what should you do? If the config map is mounted into the pod as a volume, it will automatically update not instantly, and the files will change inside the container. If it is an environment variable, it stays as the old value until the container is restarted. For example, create a new config.yaml with your custom values as given here. Then create a pod definition, referencing the config map as given here. Hope this video is useful to you. Hit like button and share with your friends to support us. If you are interested in learning new technology, please make sure to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video.